Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? So today we are going to be covering remaining of the third Lord through Houses series, and hopefully now all of you who didn't know what third Lord through Houses was, or any Lord through Houses, hopefully now you know what it means, because I made a video on it just yesterday of what is Lord through Houses. So this should explain a lot, and including what is a birth chart and how to read a birth chart. With those two videos, this should be, walk in a park and should be exciting. And also, I have to make these videos really short now, because my computer is taking 8 hours to render these videos, these 20-minute videos, and I don't know what's wrong with it. In the past 2 weeks, it just suddenly slowly went down. I think I have some malware or some spam. I got to clear that out, so I'm going to try to fix that as soon as possible. But in the meantime, got to make it, I'm going to make this quick. So third Lord in the 8th house. Well, what is the third Lord? Third Lord is communication. It's the way you communicate. It's your intelligence. It's your skills and hobbies. Because whatever you like doing, and whether it's, making robots, to fixing cars, to painting, all of these things are seen by third house. Third house is short distance travel, things that you go from city to city, or, state to state. It represents your siblings, your close friends and neighbors, people you communicate with, you gossip with, And third house is also the house of your courage and willpower. Because whenever you do something, whether it's creative like dramatic arts and media, which is also represented by third house, you have to put your effort into it. And you got to have willpower to do something that you want to do. So it's a very important house regarding your courage. And the significator of the third house is obviously Mars. Okay. So when the planet that is controlling the third house, when that goes into the 8th house, what happens? Well, 8th house is what? 8th house is secret dealings. 8th house is other people's money. 8th house is house of death and occult. 8th house is known as the house of longevity as well. And it's a house of mysteriousness. It's a house of the occult. It's a house of underground things that are buried underground, like dead bodies and death and oil and coal and gems. It's also the house of taxes, because it is the gain of the 10th house. And 10th house is government. Government's gain comes through what? Taxes. So these are the 8th house representation. And 8th house is a house of sexual relationships. It's a house of dealing with your in-laws, because it's second to the 7th house. It represents the gain of the 7th house. What is the gain of the 7th house? It is your married life, meaning that now you're dealing with your spouse's family. So they're the addition. They're the opposite to your family, the 2nd house. So when the third law goes into the 8th house, shows that your communication style is very secretive. Whenever you want to communicate with anyone, you want to do it in private. You want to do it under closed doors. And you have a lot of secrets amongst you and your siblings. And you slowly tell people, you slowly reveal to people what those secrets are. And also your relationships, whether your sexual relationships or your romantic relationships, really are expressed in secrecy. And the communication with your spouse really happens in a secretive, closed-door manners. You love communicating about, the deepest agendas of people. What is someone up to? Oh, you said this to me. What is the deeper meaning of it? Third house, and since third house is in the 8th house, it shows the intelligence of the intelligence of the person and hobbies of a person are expressed through the 8th house. Meaning that this is a really probably one of the prominent placements of somebody who's into occult, whether it's an astrologer, whether it's somebody who writes about the occult, who writes about secrecy, secret government, all those things that you hear online, the conspiracy theories about UFO. It's that communication. Somebody who's trying to go into it. They're trying to take their intelligence and mind into the 8th house of secrecy and try to communicate the world through it. And what this can also show is that your business can be in dealing with other people's money. Whether you could be an attorney of, inheritance attorney, or you can be into finance, have a business of finance where you're dealing with other people's money, other people's private money. Okay. And it also shows that somebody who might be in a business of death, meaning that monasteries. Actually, it's funny. I actually had knew this one person a long time ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, working in a monastery. And they were a morgue, not monastery, morgue, where they clean dead bodies in the funeral home. They were pretty much managers of funeral home. And when I looked at their horoscope, they had the third lord in this 8th house, and no other planet was there. So their entire effort and energy was going into things of the 8th house. They were dealing with death. This is why it's not a negative thing. It can become a business because, like I said before, third house is very important for business, and they were the manager. Obviously, it wasn't their business, but they were managing it, and they're putting their effort, their energy, their communication skills were all being expressed regarding the 8th house. So whenever they were on the phone call, they're talking to somebody whose relative or close family member died and they need to arrange something. So communication of death was happening. And yeah, it sounds funny, but you know what? Everybody's got to pay their bills. So, but depending upon different planets, you're going to have different energies. Like, let's say Sun goes into the 8th house. Sun is your personality, is your father. It's your government. It's your self-esteem. It's like your ego, pretty much. When that goes into the 8th house, your personality pretty much now becomes very secretive, and you have a very secret, embedded type of relationship with the siblings. Perhaps maybe you don't want people to know that, oh, I have a sibling, because it's like I was just watching the movie Firm with Tom Cruise, where his brother is in jail and he doesn't want to tell the law firm that his brother is in jail, so he has a secret dealing with the sibling, so that you can have this kind of secretive dealing where there's some, you don't want to tell the world who your siblings are, or where they are, because of their whatever they have done or they're doing. So that can be represented by that, and it can show that your father could have been in the business of finance or government secrecy, probably like some government agent, FBI. Or it can also show that your father could also been dealing in the medical field as a surgeon, emergency doctor, ER doctor can be seen from it. Moon represents your emotions and your mother. When it goes into the 8th house, it shows that your mind is always dealing with, your mind is like really dark. You're really always thinking about death. You're always thinking about, the occult, the secrecy, and your mind is very much, darkened. And you get this depression upon you, because of the fact your mind is always somehow takes you into the realm of the deep, takes you in the realm of the dark and depth, and the depths of this world that some people may not want to go to. And since it's your mother, it shows that your mother could have been very sick at the moment of your birth. And it can also show your mother could have been a nurse in her career. Your mother could have been just devoted to your dad's family, meaning that she was a housewife taking care of your dad and you, and taking care of family, how they do it in India. But it also shows that a very deep-rooted, karmic relationship with the mother. Perhaps there were a lot of secrets hidden regarding the mother, including the father when the sun goes into the 8th house. So a lot of secrets in the family regarding the parents with sun and moon. Now, whenever benefics go into the 8th house, whether it's Venus, Mercury, or Jupiter, although they give good results, the results kind of get mixed up. It kind of becomes a mixed result thing. So there'll always be good and bad. Because the 8th house, you got to remember, is that it's a house of turbulence. It's a house of ups and downs. Because it's the unknown. It might produce you something up, something down. So things will be up and down. So let's say Venus is in the 8th house and it's ruling your 3rd house. It shows that your ability to express your artistic talent, your artistic skills, whether it's painting or dramatic arts, will be expressed through a very dramatic, deep, turmoiled way. Meaning that you may do roles that are very dramatic and emotional. Kind of like in Bollywood, you can see Dilip Kumar. In Hollywood, you may see, God, I can't even think who does like these dark, emotional roles in Hollywood. I mean, pretty much every actor has done everything. But just think of an actor who does all these dramatic, deep roles, and full of tragedies, or the paintings that are full of like all these, major death-like scenarios can be expressed through that. And since Venus represents your spouse, and especially love affairs, romance, and love and wife for a man's in a man's chart, it can show that your relationship and meeting of the wife will happen in secrecy, under closed doors, perhaps through a sexual affair. Perhaps your relationship started sexually before it became like a love relationship. Your communication with your wife is very secretive. You don't tell what you guys discuss in the public. Now your spouse may do that, But you yourself, since you have your Venus in the 8th house, you want to deal with your wife in secrecy because she's controlling the 3rd house of communication. Okay, Mercury can show that you may become a journalist or who investigates all these deep occult government conspiracy and secrets of the world, and you may want to express that through writing, through public speaking, and you may want to tell people what's going on. Or you may be in a business of death because Venus is because Mercury is Mercury is business, and it's also education. So you may educate yourself regarding death, whether it could be a medical education, or it can be you can be in a business of death, meaning that I had a friend a long time ago, 4 or 5 years ago, who was a manager at a morgue where they clean dead bodies and people come to, it was like a funeral home, okay? And he was a manager. That means every day this person was communicating with people regarding death. 3rd Lord, Mercury, was in their 8th house. And so they were managing. Mercury is a manager. You see how this works? So it's not always has to be something, in the box. It can something be so odd as managing a morgue, managing a graveyard. When Jupiter goes into the 8th house as a 3rd house Lord, shows that your communication style is going all the way, because your Jupiter, more than communication, it's your higher learning, it's your higher self, it's your spirituality, your religion, your ability to respect others, it's your morals. It goes into the 8th house, shows that your morals are now in a death-like scenario, meaning that it'll be really hard for you to follow certain morals and laws of life. But you will find your gurus in a very transformative way, meaning that you may be on your last, your last buck. You may be going into something very dramatic in your life, and suddenly you find a guru. Suddenly you find a teacher who helps you in life. You may find a guru in occultism. You may find a guru who may be into spirituality, but spirituality of like spirits and death-like scenarios and dealing with death, and through that you learned a lot of things. Or it can show that through the death of your guru, your intelligence and your communicative ability expand. You suddenly learn something so profound that you now go out there and tell people about it. So there's a lot of this, but I'm like just hemming that into like a small video. But you should start to see why each planet is doing what according to their significance. Malefic planets like Mars and Saturn will do well in the 8th house, as well as again bring you like really tragic things in your life, because these are natural malefic. However, Mars, if it's ruling the 3rd house, it means it's your ability to courage, and it's a significator of your courage, your fighting ability, okay? And when it goes into the 8th house, it shows that somebody could be an engineer, because Mars is an engineer. And you can be using your skills of hands, which is 3rd house, into building something, meaning that you could be a civil engineer of minings. You could be an engineer in oil industry, or you can be a surgeon, because Mars is a doctor. He's also somebody who can either stab you and kill you, or who can fix you with a knife. So it can represent those things as well. With your hands, you're able to help somebody regain their life, or you can, take somebody's life of the 8th house. Saturn can represent, Saturn is your discipline, your organization skills, your work ethics, it's your absolute hard work and determination and structures in life. And Saturn can represent repetitive jobs. It can show dealing with masses. So when Saturn goes into the 8th house as the 3rd house Lord, it can show that the person might be doing manual jobs and could be in the mining, could be in a construction business, meaning, or they can even work in a graveyard as somebody who digs the ditch for dead bodies. Or Saturn can represent somebody who works in government administration or in a tax office, and he makes sure that the government is running fine, the money is coming in, because Saturn is very serious about what's happening. Saturn can again represent engineering, because if Saturn and Mars are both together, that can definitely show a strong indication for engineering in the oil industry. Or Saturn can simply be the one who, brings death to people, meaning that you can be in a criminal industry, you can be in a criminal organization just taking people's life away, because Saturn is a significator of death. He's a significator of the 8th house. So it can show that your efforts and ability is going into dealing with other people's longevity, which is again, comes to the medical things, repetitive jobs in medical, like a dentist. Dentist deals, Saturn and Mercury really shows dentists with this position. So guys, this was my quick analysis of third lord in the 8th house. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And if you want to know where your third lord is placed, for that check out the link on the side here, or the links in the below in the description section, and that's where you'll find your full astrological report with more details that you can ever think of, including all my books, Astrology, Conjunction, and Aspects of the Speed of Light, that will tell you everything about astrology. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.